Frey Holland, daydreamer, cat lover, New Yorker. On a fateful evening, her life changed drastically when she was mysteriously transported to the beautiful, treacherous land of Athia. Frey arrives with a magical, sentient bracelet inexplicably wrapped around her arm, then discovers she can cast powerful spells and use magic to swiftly traverse the sprawling landscapes. The last remnants of Athia's populace soon look to Frey as their only hope for confronting the Tamtas, once benevolent matriarchs who now rule as maddened and evil sorceresses. Reluctant to help, but desperate to find a way back home, Frey sets off on a journey through this strange and dangerous land.
Forspoken has an interesting story of a woman who gets teleported to a mystical world and has a magical bracelet wrapped around their arm from the start, as we can tell from somewhat of the previous cutscene. Welcome to my first impressions and demo review of Forspoken. My name is VampEclipsed Violet, or you guys can call me Vamp. And can I say, wow, this game has had immensely piqued my curiosity with going from a world like ours, typical day-to-day every person, and just whooshed away to a world with no understanding of how they got there, nor why a magical entity I presume is speaking to them. And a plus side, magical abilities. This demo only gives you a taste, just like any other demo, of how the game is played, what you'll more than likely encounter, and of course the banter between two possible protagonists. You really just cannot judge the entire game based on this demo alone. Hence, the title of this video. So let's start with my first impressions of this game, the demo's title screen. Okay, so first impressions of the quote unquote like beginning of you getting into the menu and stuff. Love the music in the background, very, I don't know, kind of mystical is kind of like the vibe that it gives me, but it also gives kind of like new age into the mysticalness of it, which kind of makes it interesting. I love like how all this is gold and pretty simple. I honestly don't think I could have put it better, let alone with other reviews and impressions I've heard from other people before starting this demo. Now, have an understatement of this. I will not let other reviews and impressions sway my impressions nor judgment as I give my own thoughts, feelings, and overall impressions of this game's demo. That will always be my truth when doing videos similar to this one. Also, on a final note before continuing with this review, that I will not be showing the full demo playthrough today in this video. If you would like to see that whole video unedited or minor edits, you can click that in the card above here. I always love when demos put you somewhere in the game, usually a bit towards the beginning of the game, or sometimes a little bit further depending on the type of game that you're playing, and just plop you into a tutorial so you know how the game works, teaching you how to play it and go forth and conquer. Now, I will say when I started to play this game, with any game, I will always adjust the settings first, always. Sadly, however, when I began adjusting them, I had the game crash my computer a few times. It could be that the game itself is similar to a few other games I know of that are GPU heavily induced. So on a third try, I just left the settings as they were and only adjusted the sound because my headsets are so much different now than they used to be in previous past. So with the odd stuttering I was getting and the weird blurring effect that I was getting when I was playing the game, it was playable, just not okay to constantly deal with. I will insert a note here that I did play the game again after messing around with my settings and adjusting the game. It rarely stuttered and no longer had that blurring effect. I just don't think my GPU is powerful enough to play this game while streaming or recording. I may have to adjust some settings in OBS in games like this, similar to this one, that are GPU heavily induced, in further content similar to this. Now, with the basic understanding of how the controls work in this game and using all of my gaming knowledge, this feels like an open world game, and I really like that about most games today. I like how developers are giving us free reign on how gamers like to play and how they progress their own story through the story they developed. This world seems absolutely breathtaking and ready to be immensely explored. Following through the demo of the game, you encounter some crafting in the game along with leveling up, magic upgrading, and so forth. For a modern game, it's pretty straightforward, gathering your materials in the world, coming to a rest spot, and begin crafting, leveling, and upgrading your clothing magic and self to your unique playstyle. I was pleasantly surprised that the longer you hold the upgrade button for the cloak, it started off slow and went crazily fast. You usually don't see this in video games, but my lord was that so nice to use. Okay, that works. I cannot express how much you can do in this game just through the demo alone. It seems like an absolute lot of story progression, side quests, and just straight up exploring, especially with all of the mini puzzles, the mini horde modes, picture taking. Ugh. There's just so much you can do for anyone's cup of tea. And I am an explorer, so I love to venture around and see the different enemies, things that I can interact with, puzzles, points of interest, basic gamer interests, or achievement hunters that like to 100% the game. Now, let's get a bit into the acting portion of this game. I usually do not care. As long as the actors behind the characters can really flesh some life into them, then I can be sold on the world that they are developing in very clearly to keep my interest high and highly anticipating the story. From first glance, the acting seems off, like it was forced to give it that snarkiness from Freya. However, progressing more into the demo, you can see the development between Freya and the bracelet. Freya doesn't like what's happening to her, and it feels like she blames the bracelet entity for what is happening, which kind of portrays Freya as a bitch. If it was a guy, it would be like him being an asshole. I think the reason they went this route is to try and show a strong woman that doesn't have to be overly sexualized and ew, dummy mommy. I'm honestly thankful that she is just a normal person from around our time, stuck in a wonderland, so to speak, fighting for her life and a way home. She's going on this immense journey, growing and developing who she is as a person while learning her surroundings are very different from the streets she grew up in, and taking those experiences and tweaking them to survive with also the blessing she was given to help her to do that.
Oh, very ladylike.
What, I can't even yawn now? What the fuck? I mean, this just goes to show nothing good ever happens in a courtroom.
The more the madness took her, the less she was prepared to listen to reason. That'll teach you.
Yeah, what he said.
I'd say now's the time to strike.
No shit.
Fred, what's the matter?
Can't fucking see straight.
Okay, so let's recap before I give my final thoughts. First and foremost, I love that the demo gives you a preview into the game as a whole, of teaching you how to play and what to somewhat expect from this game. Settings did feel off, but that was mostly my GPU, I do believe. I had to restart the demo because of the keyboard mouse settings showing instead of the controller settings showing, and of course I had to restart a few times anyways because my GPU decided to crash my computer a few times because of this game. This game is open world and beautiful, and I'm kind of meh on the basic crafting. However, the holding and crafting stupidly fast if you have the material without having to constantly press the button over and over again, and it speeds up the longer you hold it, was absolutely A++ tier. I will always love that. And lastly, the acting seems to be somewhat forced in certain spots, but overall you could start to see some dynamic grow as the journey went on, and it felt more and more like that's how it was supposed to be. So now to my final thoughts. Freya, you may have not completely won me over yet, but the story, the fantasy, the dynamic duo against the world, and the possibility that it could happen randomly has me sold on wanting to embed myself into it and discover what lays over the frontier of your journey. If you think this might be your cup of tea, you can give the demo a try today. The demo should be available wherever you play games in your game store, whether that be PC, Xbox, or PlayStation. I am not sponsored by them, nor probably will I ever be, but I do have a coffee shop if you would like to support me in a type of way, or even my throne wish list for specified items that I'm kind of looking for. Other than that, that's the end of this video. All of my links will be linked down below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to stay batty. Bye.